Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that's Connor, and we are going to talk about Arrow Season 5, Episode 9. It's called What We Leave Behind. Full spoilers for the episode as always. This was not a bad episode of Arrow.
I am inclined to agree.
It's weird to say, it's weird that it's kinda had two good episodes in a row. I don't quite know how to process
See,
that thought.
if you didn't say that, I'd maybe think it's just because I'm drunk again, and it seemed, drunk goggles. Head Club this time. It's a new whiskey from David Beckham of all people. It's pretty good.
Oh, very good.
Uh, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by more than some of this.
Yeah, there was a lot of things in this that weren't half bad. It probably has the best use of a flashback in years, maybe the
Maybe
entire
ever.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That the escalator.
yeah. That
Oh
whole
man.
that whole walk into that building where it was intercutting with the flashback from kind of season one time.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was really good. That was like the most effective they've ever used the flashbacks. I didn't like all the flashbacks. I thought the earlier ones where he's just talking to Diggle and stuff like that felt really forced. It was also especially weird when in the flashback Diggle's like, nah, you shouldn't be killing people, Oliver. There might be consequences. Cut to present day. Here's the consequences. Oliver, it's not your fault.
Okay. Yeah, but it's no more on the nose than any other flashback, is it?
No, but it was just he flip flopped. It was like he was completely saying the opposite thing. He made
Yeah, but they
Diggle.
both flip flopped, didn't they? That's kind of, I guess that's the point.
Well, no, because Oliver's back to killing people now.
All right, he is at the minute, but maybe Dig will go back to, hang on, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe there will be consequences.
There's
Maybe it is your fault.
too much flip flopping going on. That's all I'm saying. Too much
I'm
flip
not going to
flopping.
argue with that.
Uh, um, I think one of the other big problems I had with this episode was why did Evelyn reveal that she was working with Prometheus in that scene in the middle? What purpose did it serve their plan for her to reveal that at that point?
That's what I was running. I mean, the only reason I can think of is that the whole point that she infiltrated in the first place was to get other identities and addresses and stuff, and she's done that. Doesn't matter
Okay.
anymore.
Alright, maybe. But I just see at the time, I was like,
But it does feel like there should have been more to her being a plant there.
yeah, because she stops Ollie from, hitting him, and then, like, oh, you've been working with him all along, and then they just leave. And she's like, you don't even see her again for the rest of the episode. It doesn't get brought up again.
Do you know what? Actually, there was one point that it brought up that really pissed me off. It was probably the worst part of the episode for me.
Oh, go on.
So I can't remember who's talking. Maybe Wild Dog. So when they're saying, "Oh, she's been like this the whole time," to Curtis on the phone, I think it is, and they're like, "No, Oliver thinks it's just since she found out he was the Hood." And I was like, "Hang on." So her finding out he used to be a psychopathic killer drove her to work for a psychopathic killer. What?
Her logic's not particularly sound. No.
It's not. It's really not.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think I'm at a point with Arrow where it takes a lot for me to enjoy some of the stuff that the characters do. So, there was a lot of stuff early on in the episode that I wasn't necessarily into, but there was some things that I actually did quite like. Just a couple of small things.
Go on.
That was a heavy breath. I
Sorry.
I really like that they kept referencing the aliens and the Dominators, and they talked about it. They kept talking about Flashpoint because that affected Diggle's life. In fact, I even enjoyed the joke where someone suggests maybe Barry can do Flashpoint again, and Wild Dog's like, no, Diggle could end up with 5 kids. And Diggle's
Yeah.
look what he gave him after that kind of worked. So
Yeah, I did like it. It's like, yeah, this shit happened in this universe. We
Beca-
need to acknowledge that.
Because so often, more than not, in these shows, it feels like they kind of make a point. It was kind of like when Flash went to Supergirl last season, and he came back, and he never mentioned it, and it was so weird. It felt like they were just like
Yeah, that
avoiding
was
it.
weird.
And
This was much better,
This was the opposite of that. This was, them actually acknowledging all this stuff.
as they should be.
And I like that because it happened last week. They mentioned it multiple times. It just happened a week ago. I'm like, yeah, there should be some just small things like peppered
Yeah,
throughout
like
that-
you have Oliver's speech where he talks about how his Christmas movies, and he relived it last week.
Yeah, and he references It's a Wonderful Life. But he's
Yeah.
correct that Die Hard is the best Christmas movie.
Well,
so-
obviously, that was another thing that I found weird. Everyone laughed like that was meant to be a joke. It's like, yeah, that's
No.
not a weird opinion anymore.
No.
That people say that legitimately.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. It's the best Christmas movie.
if anything, it's almost a cliche.
Yeah, it's true, actually. It's true.
Like, so, stop laughing. This isn't a joke.
Yeah. Other thing, it's funny. It's really weird to compare something that someone in Arrow said to something someone in Shield said, and have Arrow be the better example of it. But I'm about to do it. So this week in Shield, Sky made a really meta joke about comic books.
Yeah.
And how, oh, maybe in the comic book version I could be this, right? I won't go into details. If you don't watch Shield, you don't want, or if you're not caught up, you don't want it spoiled.
But that was
That's
the
fine.
line, yeah.
That was
and
the
it was
line.
really cringy.
Felicity made a meta joke in this episode, and it worked much better. And it ended up also being very foreshadowing for the end of the episode. But they're talking about people dying and not being able to come back. She says, "Hey, people mysteriously appear to be dead for a long time and then come back all the time. It happens every Wednesday," which is obviously the night the Arrow airs. It was a very meta joke, but it kind of worked. It was funny. I think it works for a couple of reasons. I think it works because even if it wasn't a meta joke about, like, even if she'd picked a different day, even if she'd said Thursday or Friday, whatever, it's funnier to specify a day as if it's a regular occurrence rather than just saying every week.
But do you know what I like about it saying Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday is New Comic Book Day as well as Arrow Day. So it feels like she could actually just be referencing comics.
She's not, but yeah.
No, but she could be if you wanted to take it that way. Rather than making it just meta. So you can kind of give an in-universe reason for it as well.
Nah, they're too wink-wink on this show.
That's true. They don't have that sort of subtlety, do they?
Do you remember when Vixen showed up last season and Oliver said, "Oh, we had an animated adventure"? Do you remember that? You do now.
I tried to black that out with copious amounts of alcohol.
I do recall. Well, one subplot that wasn't super working for me. I mean, honestly, most of the subplots didn't work for me that well. We had Curtis and his husband. Just kind of felt like drama.
I think my biggest problem is we've never really seen his husband. We've maybe seen him like 3 times in the entire show.
We've seen him. I remember him last season introducing him at one point, but we've never really had a lot of him.
And I feel like this could have been a solid relationship beat if we actually knew who he was.
Yeah, and honestly, most of it just kind of fed into the idea that it was a lesson for Felicity, because Felicity wasn't letting her boyfriend Cop be, which, by the way, obviously we're going to get to his demise when we talk about the main plot, but I actually am so glad he's dead because he was a terrible actor.
Yeah, definitely.
Every word that came out of his mouth I did not buy at all. When he had his scene with Felicity and he's talking about, "Oh, I'm a cop, this is what I do, you can't stop me from being who I am," I thought, oh god, no, shut up, go away.
Do you know what the thing is? I think everyone's happy with that because the Elicitors will be happy because it means there's one less obstacle. I mean, sure, well, there's one more obstacle
for now,
but there's one less obstacle there.
I don't know, I feel that Elicity fans might be a little upset by the end of this one.
No, I'm not saying they'll be happy with the episode. I felt they'll be happy with that part.
Sure.
And then we're happy because he was atrocious.
He was atrocious, yeah.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So yeah, that subplot, Curtis and his husband, like, I get it. Like, I get why they're doing it, but it feels like they set up this obstacle last season where he didn't want to be involved with Green Arrow because he had this married life. He didn't want to interfere with that. And now he's completely flipped on that, so now they have to write a way for him for it to be okay that he's out all night, fighting people and whatnot.
I kind of liked at the start where it was, at the Christmas party and he was like, "Oh, the start-up and the awkward lies." I kind of liked that part.
Well, see, at that point, though, I thought it might just be like a running joke. They keep coming up with these stupid excuses for him being out all night and stuff like that. But as soon as it turned into, "Oh, I think he's having an affair," I'm like, "Oh god, no, stop it. I don't want this."
That's the same point where I was like, And not to say I want more relationship drama, but this would have worked better if, like I say, if we knew who. I can't even remember his husband's name because we've seen him so little.
No, it's not happening.
It's not.
I tried to think of it. It's not happening. Okay, so there was that. I have to say though, because this was the first time it came in the episode, I think. So Prometheus shows up and throwing stars Curtis's neck, and as soon as it hits, Prometheus's theme hits, and we've spoken about his theme before. I kind of hate it.
I love it.
I kind of like it, but I kind of hate it at the same time.
I love it. That chromatic downward scale. It's so over the top and obnoxious, but I love it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, I feel like they could have worked the same musical idea, but just made it not be so obnoxious.
See, I kind of love that they've just gone, nah, screw this, we're going obnoxious.
Don't get me wrong.
The music is so often like more subtle and just sounds rather than big melodic moments for the big beats.
Well, you mean that sort of weird reverse kind of horn thing that plays every time he does something heroic?
Yeah, exactly. And it is kind of just that, but like this, and that's a bit more muted and subtle in comparison because it kind of just feels like a noise at this point. Whereas this, it stands out, it is obnoxious, and I like that. It makes you notice it.
I think I like what the music's doing. I like the constant downward spiral it sounds like.
Yeah.
I just think it's too, like, all the sound goes out and you just hear this, just over and over again. It just feels so in your face, and I don't know, I kind of hate it.
I get what you mean, but I love it. I really do.
I kind of hate it, but don't get me wrong, after this episode, Prometheus might be the best villain Arrow's ever had.
Yeah, and say what you will about the theme, it's damn memorable.
Oh, it is memorable. I'll give you it. I'll give you it. Of course, we also had Oliver's dating reporter lady, and who had Russian vodka in her apartment.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's tying into things, but I feel like it might be.
Maybe she's just a fan of Russian vodka versus European. They're very different.
I don't know. I feel like with this show, though, everyone who's new has to turn out to be someone.
I get that, but maybe it is just Arrow classing itself up with the subtleties of drinking. Something obviously it would be lost on you this as a non-drinker, but
she's Bratva. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, probably
Bratva.
Yeah,
but no. So let's talk about the main plot. And don't get me wrong, part of it is a little bit, convoluted because of Oliver's, flip-flopping on killing and Evelyn's stance on it. And while I was, praising Evelyn for actually pointing all this crap out, I'm sick of her talking about it now. So, whatever.
Yeah.
But, it's been a kind of a problem. And I do kind of like, though, that this killer's kind of forcing him, this killer, whoever it is, and I'm thinking Tommy at this point, if I'm honest. That's my number one guess.
Oh, jeez. Is Tommy becoming this show's Eddie?
Yeah, if it's not Tommy, it's Eddie. So,
Flashpoint had way more impact than we thought.
It did. Well, I mean, we get to the end of the episode, Flashpoint might have had a big impact.
I disagree, but we'll get there.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about why that may be at the end. But no, the fact that this killer is created because Oliver was a killer is a good. I think it dilutes the whole message that he's kind of reverted just before this.
Yeah, but it's a nice idea.
But I like the idea that this is someone who's become this because of what he was doing, because he was being a killer, and this should be the ultimate lesson that teaches him that he shouldn't be killing. And don't get me wrong, he should have learned that the easier way, like most people do, by just knowing.
Yeah, and even in this, because you'd feel like, maybe he'll retake his vow in this of, no more killing that he did after Tommy died. But he kills the dude, and then it's like, well, he makes no point to say he's not gonna stop killing, right? He doesn't make any effort to say, right?
Well, yeah,
okay,
it might still come. That should be the lesson here, because as much as I go on about the flashbacks and the ones with Diggle and Felicity, I thought were okay.
They were clearly just there to go, hey, remember what this show used to be?
Yeah, here's him in the old outfit with the paint in his face. He says that you failed this city. It's like season one nostalgia.
And Felicity not knowing when he kept going up to her in the office.
Yeah. It's just here's some memories. But when he goes to the building that he originally went to kill this guy who was basically giving everyone TB and then selling them medication at ridiculous prices. And obviously they think it's the son of this guy, although because we don't see him on mask, and I think it's very telling that they mention Tommy twice in this episode, because they've not spoken about him. Outside of obviously some obvious references last week, because it was whole daydream, It's a Wonderful Life, right? Outside of that, they have not mentioned Tommy in a long time. I think it's very, very intentional that they mention him in this episode.
It is very possible, but then again, just to bring back to Flash, we say this every time with Eddie, where they go, they mentioned Eddie recently, and there never is.
Yeah, but this is an even longer gap, and
that is a good point.
It makes some sense. I can see it working.
It did, and I do recall, obviously they said before the season started that he would be, Prometheus would have serious links to Oliver in season 1. Yeah,
so that just makes the most sense to me. But of course, that's why we didn't get a reveal, is because the actor's not free until episode 15, so they have to keep the mask on him for another.
No, you're completely wrong. I've just realised who it is.
What?
It's Walter.
You mean
He's like, look,
Philip Walter?
Philip Walter. Yeah, it's like, look, you got Moira killed.
Oh
She
dear.
was my wife. I want revenge.
Moira!
It's like, look, you drowned as far as I'm concerned, and my life picked up. I inherited a company. I got a new wife. It was all good. And then you came back, and then I lost my company, and then I lost my wife. And it's like, nah, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, it's too easy for it to be the son of this guy, especially when we don't see his face. If it was the son of this guy, unless he's pretending to be someone else that's like newer, like maybe if he turned out to be, obviously it can't be the cop because Felicity's boyfriend because he's dead now.
Yeah, but you have the DA guy. Was it DA?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's vigilante. That
Oh,
felt like
yeah,
it was,
you're right.
that was
Yeah.
heavily
Yeah.
done
Knock
in
off
last
Jake
episode.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, knock off Jake Gyllenhaal. Knock off Jake Gyllenhaal / Harvey Dent.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Sorry.
misremembering.
More specifically, knock off Jake Gyllenhaal playing knock off Harvey Dent.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's him. But no, the scene where Ollie actually goes through this building and Prometheus is left like corpses in the exact same places that all of his like victims as he went in, 4 years ago went through. Now, don't get me wrong, I think this would be even more effective if this was actually an episode from season 1. Like if this actually happened and we seen it at the time.
It would have been better, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been even more, because you could have still done the whole cutting between them. It would have still worked even if it's
Just
something
cut to
we'd
the
seen.
old footage, yeah.
But as he's going up, really effective, really intimidating. It's like a horror movie almost as he's getting closer to the center.
Also, that actual fight on the escalator might be one of my favorite fights in Arrow.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. I think it was the way it was shot. It wasn't particularly, captivating in terms of action. It was just the motion of the up and down and the crossing sides. It just really worked for me.
Yeah, I think this part of the show now, this at least this episode in Prometheus is where we're going now. Even though it's had some really rough, like that whole Quentin waking up and thinking he might be Prometheus was the most ridiculous, silly thing ever. But
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
But at least here in this episode, it feels like they've actually got an idea. They've got a direction. They've got something they're actually a story they're trying to tell that isn't just character drama. That isn't
Which makes a change from the last 2 seasons.
It does. And no, that whole build up as he's walking up, great. And then we got the mirrors thing, and then he shoots what he thinks is Prometheus, and you know exactly what it is as soon as it goes down.
Yeah, for a second, I just thought it was the classic mirrors. Where
Yeah.
he shot a mirror and there was no one there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, someone went down.
Which, by the way,
it wasn't Prometheus, was it?
For all their stealing of the Batman movies and just Batman in general, and they still like this show wants to be Batman so much. There's
no hiding that. Even when it's good at what it's doing, there's no hiding that.
Yeah, it just wants to be Batman. It's not really trying to be Green Arrow. But I will say here, this is essentially the same trick that happens in The Dark Knight, except Oliver falls for it.
Because he's shit Batman.
Yeah, Batman didn't fall for this. Batman knew. He's like, no. The clowns are the hostages. The scientists are the criminals. Batman knew. Whereas here, But here's where the episode actually really impressed me, right? When Oliver goes back to the base, and they're all standing around, and they're all like, oh, what happened? A couple of things I was expecting. One, that Oliver might lie about it, and keep this a secret, because it's Arrow.
They do love their secrets.
2, if he does just come out and say it, Felicity will blame him, and it will create a giant gaping hole of drama.
But in defense of that one, she may have been right to blame him. He did just shoot him.
It was a trick.
I mean, yeah, but this is the point. This is why you don't kill people, Oliver, because then you don't accidentally shoot people.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's a pretty big lesson to learn here. But even if there is some small amount of justification for her feeling that way, no, it would be annoying as hell because this show just constantly does this, and character drama is the worst thing this show does. It is terrible at it, and it seems to do a lot of it. So it's them getting away from it.
There's so many shows that we go and go, oh man, just get these people in a room and talk, and this is
the opposite.
At its pinnacle.
Yeah. I mean, there's some small moments that, like Felicity like whipping out the DNA like reader thing and giving it to the guys, and they're like, I don't know how to use this. And then, Wild Dog, like, still being into Thea for some reason. Like, it's small amounts of amusement,
Yeah.
And why is Thea dressing up as Speedy all of a sudden again?
Because Felicity's boyfriend was missing. That's what she said, right?
Again, that's just what I'm saying. Flip flopping. It almost feels like
It
for
is
no reason.
flip-flop, but this is just. Do you know what it was?
And remember,
She was back in the costume last week for Aliens.
yeah,
Fair reason.
and then
Give her
disappeared
that one.
halfway through the crossover for no reason.
Right. Yeah, which didn't get addressed. But let's be honest, fair reason for suiting up.
Yeah, no,
Aliens.
fair. Yeah, I'd totally put my boots back on for some aliens.
Yeah. And then she went, oh, do you know what? This is kind of fun.
Let's get a taste
I'm,
for
I'm,
it.
I'm going to do this again. And then she's just like, every week now we're going to get some flimsy excuse as to why she's suited up.
She's got that bloodlust.
Oh, god damn it.
Bloodlust. Bloodlust.
Someone put an arrow through her.
But anyway, yeah, so he comes back in, and I was expecting this drama. I was expecting all these things that Arrow normally does. So I was right to think that we were going to get X, Y, and Z. It avoided all of them in that scene. Oliver says it, and instead, so he comes out with it first of all, and then she doesn't blame him. No one blames him, and they actually use the moment to sort of bond and embrace each other. And honestly, acting in that scene, not half bad. Like Oliver crying as he was trying to tell her.
Yeah, I really liked his kind of blank face beforehand.
Yeah.
Usually that would be a criticism to say he has a blank face, but where they're like, what happened? Where is he? And he just has this reaction, like it is just blank. He doesn't know what to say. He's trying to process.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's like just finding out a loved one died, and you have no idea how to proceed. You just have this white sheet of a face.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So no, really good scene. We got a little montage thing. Obviously, they gives a lot of mid-season cliffhangers here. Diggle gets lured out to a house where there's a SWAT team waiting for him.
Most obvious trap ever.
Yeah, most obvious trap ever. He's a
Also, I have a question. So his wife's like, oh yeah, there's something wrong with the kid. So he bursts in with his gun out. Why?
I don't know. Also, question: was he not standing on that big lineup at the end of the crossover on the news as the president was making a speech?
I don't remember. If he was, though, he'll have had his mask on, wouldn't he?
True. You think he'd go up and go, hey, Prez? How about a pardon? Come on, I just saved the world from aliens. Come on, give us a pardon.
You'd think, but if he was, he did have the helmet on. To be fair,
okay,
so
sure.
I'll let him off the hook on that one. I guess.
Greatest disguise ever.
It wasn't amazing.
But no, so he seems to be getting caught and maybe going back to prison or whatever's going to happen as a result of that. Felicity's like crying her eyes out in the,
Of course she is.
Yeah, and all this is going on while Oliver goes and meets a reporter lady, and he has like an emotional connection with her and blah 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 blah. And it all kind of wraps up and neatly, and then so. At this point, that's before we talk about the last scene, because the last scene is very much separate from everything else.
Yeah.
I don't want to say good. I feel it hurts my soul to say there's a good episode of Arrow at this point, because it's been so terrible for so long. But this was kind of good.
Yeah, this... last week we were like, yeah, this was pretty good.
Yeah,
and we were like, okay, crossover gets away with a bit more.
Don't get me wrong.
It had aliens.
I had a lot of... I mentioned problems. I mentioned a lot of problems going through that. Some forced drama in the subplots. Evelyn's kind of terrible now.
But overall, they probably didn't detract from it that much.
No, the core tension and drama of the main threat, the main thing that was going on, actually ended up being good enough that if this was just the quality we had for every week for the rest of Arrow, it would not be the chore to watch anymore. That it has been.
Honestly, I might not need to give my liver a kicking every week if I could reliably expect this.
Yeah.
But you know what? This happened season 3, because the mid-season finale of season 3, where he goes, the climb up and then
Ra's al Ghul, he's climbing up and we see all these scenes where he says goodbye to everyone. It's kind of emotional and it ends with him possibly dying and getting kicked off a cliff.
And you know what? I was like, damn, this episode was pretty good after what wasn't a bad first half of the season, but it was just lackluster following what I thought was a pretty good season 2. So I was like, okay, maybe we're back on track.
And the rest,
and then it was all downhill from there, wasn't it? Or
off a cliff.
Yes, off a cliff. I was just getting to that. Thank you.
Yeah, went right off a cliff. Yeah. If you wanted to say a good pun, Connor, get there quicker.
I was getting to it. It went off a cliff with him, But no, you had to burst in and take it, didn't you?
Off a cliff with him is too on the nose. Just off the cliff on its own.
No, but the show went off the cliff with him.
Let's talk about the last scene in this episode,
All
then,
right,
shall we?
okay. Where it's starting the climb back up the cliff, yeah? Perhaps.
I don't know.
For some people.
See, this is my thing here. So Oliver goes back to the base. He walks in. There's someone standing looking at the outfits, and she turns around. It's Laurel, alive, of course.
Yeah.
And she says, "Hello, Oliver," or whatever she said. I can't remember the exact line. And
he just looks there, dumbfounded.
Yeah, cut to credits. That's your cliffhanger for. I have some criticisms about this scene.
Go on.
It does not connect, other than the one bit of foreshadowing from Felicity about the people coming back from the dead every Wednesday. This does not connect to anything in this episode. It really feels so like just tacked on to give it a big.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done this at the start of, like after the break.
Yeah,
and I probably would have been a lot better with it. Because we did have that montage, which kind of sets up the cliffhangers and going forward. That was kind of a nice ending.
I just feel like you could have built up to this reveal. You could have built up that maybe there was someone out there doing something.
They just wanted people talking over Christmas, didn't they?
Yeah, but he just walks in. She's just standing there, and it's like, I don't know. It feels so out of nowhere to me.
I'm kind of hoping it'll be better retroactively once they tell us
maybe.
Why.
Maybe I just.
But it doesn't excuse it now. I'll agree.
But again, it feels like the writers of Arrow just went, "Oh, let's just flip a switch. She's back now." And I'm sure there'll be an explanation, sure.
And
but...
you know what? We should have known, because I think we even mentioned in the news a while back. What's her name who plays her? Signed one of those contracts where she's on all the shows.
Yeah, but that could have been lots of things. It could have been, more.
Earth 2, yeah, the Black Siren stuff.
Black Siren, yeah.
Yeah, and, Legends as its time travel shenanigans. So, but obviously at this point, we hadn't seen her at all.
So don't get me wrong, I'm not surprised she's back. I was kind of expecting it the entire time, that she would eventually pop back up and she would just be back, right?
Oh, man. Quentin's going to go through some stuff. It just occurred to me. Man, that man is a yo-yo.
That man's had both daughters die and come back to life. He just does not know what to do with himself at this point.
Does he grieve, or does he just feel... Because when she died, he was like, "Oh, it's fine, we'll bring her back, it's all good." Because he should have had that reaction. Yeah, and then they're all no, she's dead. This is it. Get over it. Grieve. Move on. And then he did. And now she's back again.
No one will ever accept death in this universe again.
Why should they?
Well, at least on Arrow.
Yeah, but why should they?
They shouldn't. I don't know. Like, I have no problem with her being back. I always expected it to happen. The question is how do they explain it? Is it a Flashpoint related thing?
I feel like it can't be Flashpoint, because that would imply she never died in the first place.
Yeah, that is kind of the messy thing. But at the same time, the reason why I think it might still have something to do with it is because they make a point of talking about it in this episode a couple of times.
They do.
Whereas they'd never done that before. Like, before, when we found out about Diggle's, daughter to son, it was on Flash, and it was with Felicity in Star City, but it was on Flash. This is the first time they have openly talked about Flashpoint just amongst Arrow characters on their show.
I wonder if it's not Flashpoint, but still is time travel. What if, obviously, we got that episode a few ago of Legends where Sarah spoke to Dark and said, "Oh, I know all your plan," or, "We beat you anyway."
Maybe that's...
And I remember when we spoke about this, you speculated, but hang on, won't he just change things now so that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
Maybe, some of this stuff did change.
But then that doesn't explain why the rest of them don't know she's alive. Like, that would just be she didn't die. Whereas here, it still seems like to them, she did die, and now she's back. Because he's surprised to see her.
Unless they just explain it as she went away and didn't die the whole time.
Unless they do a double swerve and it ends up being Black Siren, who's escaped from, Flash and is just impersonating Laurel.
That'd be a kick in the balls to all the people who desperately want her back.
It would, wouldn't it? It's fine. Laurel's always been such a frustrating character for us. We got a lot of hate. When in the episode she died and we reviewed it, we said some nasty things about her.
But it wasn't even nasty. It was more uncaring.
But it was uncaring. But I want to really get into this, though, and why my feelings on Laurel are so conflicted. I don't think there's anything wrong with Katie Cassidy. I think she's fine, right? She's a fine actress.
Yeah, she's nowhere near the strongest, but she's
not she's not a deterrent, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously, you can't have a Green Arrow show without Black Canary, right? We agree.
That's the assumption.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we agree on that point, right? As DC
Googie
fans,
didn't for a while.
Sure, Googie didn't, but that's what we would say. We would say, no, if you're going to have a Green Arrow show, Black Canary has to be a main character on it. She has to be the main love interest who will eventually be with him. And even when she's not a love interest, she should still be there fighting. She still have a presence. She still be doing stuff. And even when Laurel became Black Canary, which the entire journey to her becoming Black Canary was really contrived. It was, you know, some magical boxing lessons over a few episodes. It was after one of the most ridiculous, because as much as you like season 2, one of the worst parts of season 2 was her addiction storyline.
I'm not denying that at all. That was awful.
Yeah, when Arrow was at its best, arguably in season 2, she was the weakest part of the show.
Yeah, and also the fact that we'd had Sarah as, I don't know if they called her Black Canary, but she was the Canary.
Yeah.
And we'd kind of just accepted that she was this show's version of Black Canary, right?
It's because even our personality seemed to line up with Black Canary.
It was like, okay, sure, the name wasn't there, but we'd kind of just accepted that, no, this is as close we're going to get, and that's okay.
I mean, obviously, I'm annoyed that they keep calling her Laurel. Like, call her Dinah. Like, this is a thing this show's been doing. It took us 4 seasons to get him called Green Arrow. It took 3 seasons to get Star City. It was Starling City for years, you know?
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
Like, for some reason on this show, they had this fear of actually using the exact names of things. It was always a slight different version or a slight, you know...
I do think that was the Smallville bleed-in.
Yeah.
Because obviously this came right after Smallville, and it was still very closely linked to it at the start, and obviously that had its issues with that stuff.
I am so thankful that Flash and Supergirl did not do this crap.
Yeah.
No, it's Central City. He's the I mean, yeah, it took a few episodes for him to get that name, but it was like episode 6 or 7. It wasn't long.
Yeah, and it was enough where, sure, he doesn't have a name yet.
Yeah.
There's a an excuse for it. I can buy it.
Whereas in Arrow, the name thing's been such a plot point that earlier this season he revealed to characters, oh, by the way, I was also the Hood.
Yeah.
People actually thought that was a different person publicly.
Yeah.
So, you know. But, you know, so we've had all this thing. So Laurel, for me, I think she improved in the sense that she didn't bother me as much. I think in season 4, everything got so bad that she ended up not being one of the bad points. She ended up being one of the better points.
Yeah, because she had that really good speech right before she died in the courtroom. It was like the first time we'd seen her being a DA in like 3 years.
Now, hopefully, this is the start of a sort of redemption in terms of the writers for her, because I feel like it took her 3 years to become Black Canary, give or take, right? It was such a convoluted journey that we didn't buy. We were like, this is stupid. Like, she just becomes this badass crime fighter this quickly. So not only is her costume ridiculous, it's a dominatrix outfit.
Yeah, but at least I like that Malcolm makes the jokes about it.
Well, no, but like I just think it looks stupid, though. It just bothers me.
But that's the thing. At least one of the characters is also aware of that it looks stupid and like a BDSM outfit.
It doesn't fix it for me, though. It doesn't make me feel any better about it.
Makes me feel a little bit better.
It doesn't make me feel any better about it. It just looks like shit. And especially when the reason for it is probably, we don't want to use the comic outfit because, you know, it's got the fishnets and it's a little bit slutty. You somehow managed to cover up more skin but make it even more sexual.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that, but you did. So, good job. Right, so you've got that. You've got all these things. But the biggest problem, and I think fans of Black Canary should really feel this, in season 4, she had no plots all season until the episode she died. They gave her nothing to do. She just stood around. She was there for fighting scenes. She had like a little bit of court time when Damien Dark was on trial, when they remembered she was meant to be a DA, because they'd forgotten about it for a long ass time. And she had nothing to do all season, and then the minute she gets a bit of screen time, it's because she's dying. Right?
Yeah, it was also when she was at her least offensive in the entire show because she did nothing. We were like, oh, she's not bad this season because obviously she didn't do anything. She didn't have any dialogue that could offend us.
And I think people mistook us not caring about her death last season as, oh, it's because you don't like Black Canary, you don't care. And like, no. We're DC fans. We love Black Canary. I like Black Canary more than Green Arrow in the comics.
Yeah, I might agree with that, actually.
She's part of the Birds of Prey. I love her. She's great.
Hey, forget Birds of Prey. Fishnet Brigade.
She's
Her
part
as Zatanna. What more can I want?
She's part of the Birds of Prey. Fishnet Brigade. What the hell? But no, like she's a great character in the comics, but the show, like much like same with Green Arrow to an extent. Like we say, Green Arrow is not really Green Arrow in this show. He's just kind of poor man's Batman. Like that's kind of what he's always been on this show. Black Canary isn't even a poor man's something else. She's just poor Black Canary. I guess, like she doesn't really feel like Black Canary. She doesn't quite have that wit to her, that charm, that smirk when she does things.
Because they gave it all to Sarah instead.
So hopefully this is the start where she can actually become the Dinah Lance that we know, that we love, that we care about. That hopefully whatever reason she's back gives her just the sonic power rather than having the stupid device. Like just give her the power.
Oh, that'd be great. And then Evelyn can't steal it again.
Evelyn can't steal it again.
And hack into it, even though it's tuned to her voice waves or whatever that bollocks was from Cisco.
The point I really want to make, though, is that I want Black Canary on this show, and I want her to be good. I want Green Arrow to be good in this show as well, but I want her to be good on this show. I don't want her to be just in the background while, the main plot is, because last season it was Oliver and Felicity have drama. There's a villain, sure, magic's involved. Everyone else just kind of shows up. Because even Thea last season, Thea didn't really have much of a plot beyond getting over some bloodlust.
Yeah, also, that magic thing in this made me roll my eyes.
Oh, where he says he believes in magic in the flashback?
In the flashbacks, yeah. I was like, oh, because of course you do. Now you do. Now you've shown us that flashback.
Yeah, one of our big criticisms, of course, with the flashbacks for the last 2 years have been that he keeps, bringing up stuff from the island time, from 5 years ago, where he seemed to never know about this before, even though he should have. Like the magic, he's like, I've encountered magic before. Yeah, you go back to season 1 of Arrow and you tell me that Oliver had encountered magic before.
Yeah, now they're trying to tell us that with this scene.
No. Retconning to hell is all I'm saying. Retconning to hell.
And I don't mind retconning, but I rolled my eyes.
Yeah, that was pretty. It was like yeah, we get the complaint. Here's something that's set in season 1. Yeah, sure. Very good. But for all that rant at the end, this was actually a pretty good episode. So
it wasn't bad, yeah.
It wasn't bad, yeah.
It was. Just to say on the end there, where we're talking about how Black Canary, we wanted to be Black Canary. I kind of felt that way with Green Arrow, because obviously, as a character, he's always been very politically active as a big part of his character. And they kind of shied away from that for a long time, which is why he was kind of shit Batman. Yeah,
well, it's not only just that. Think of Green Arrow in the comics. He is, the most, dead set on his ideals of any of the heroes. He cares about helping the poor and the social issues and all these kind of things.
He's very socially liberal and very aware.
But he's so dead set in all those principles. And in this show, it's nah, I'm just going to kill people. Nah, I shouldn't kill people. Nah, I'm going to kill people again. Nah, I shouldn't kill. He's flip-flopping on the main one big thing that should be the easiest.
I know.
To decide on.
And this is kind of my problem, though, because obviously they brought in the mayor plot, and I thought, maybe we'll get some of that all in. Well, actually, maybe we'll get Green Arrow.
We see him make a speech once in a while. We've not seen any actual...
Do you know what it is? They're too scared to actually give him a political stance on anything, just in case they offend either side of whatever they choose as their thing. And they're so scared of offending anyone and turning anyone away that they're just not doing it, and it loses a big part of what Oliver is.
It does, and which is really funny actually when you think about how these 4 shows, the CW shows as a whole, are probably 4 of the most liberal TV shows there are. I mean, there's so many gay relationships. There's so many, when it's got a female-led show for a start, but then there's a gay relationship on that. There's a gay relationship on this. Sarah's basically
around sleeping with everyone.
Yeah, she's a lesbian pimp basically. There's so much of all this going on. Obviously, the cast are all very diverse in terms of ethnicity. It's so clearly. The writers and stuff are so clearly on board with all this thing, but they are too scared to have Oliver just come out and say, no, we should have this. And
it's one of the things that's legitimately holding it back from feeling like Oliver Queen instead of poor man's Bruce Wayne. Because he should have stances. He should fight for these things in a political arena as well as in his superheroics. Yeah,
because Batman's always been the one that's more... Bruce Wayne's just a disguise, and what he cares about is stopping the bad people in the criminal underworld. It's not about... I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure if you ask Bruce Wayne what his thoughts are on all these social issues, he probably sides with a lot of the stuff, but...
Yeah, he'll have answers as well.
But it's not his core thing. It's not what he's just trying to stop really bad people preying on the innocent. And, well, sure, Green Arrow does that, but it's not... It's such a big part of this.
He is about change for the better. Yeah. It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, it's such a... Like, you could almost have both of them in the same city. Let Oliver do the political stuff and let Batman be the enforcer. Let him do the stuff at night. You know, you could almost have that dynamic if you wanted to. But I don't know. It just it dilutes his character, and it leaves us with a Green Arrow on the show who is just kind of Green Arrow in name and costume without the actual character.
I just wish they'd just commit to this mayor stuff, and I kind of miss having stuff out of costume that's not just relationship stuff, because everything else that is out of costume is in the Arrow cave.
I want to point out, just because I feel like when we first started doing these shows, we mentioned in every one that you had chronic hiccups, but we've not said it in like maybe a year now, and that was a pretty bad hiccup. So I just want to, just casual reminder, Connor has chronic hiccups. There's a reason why he's doing that every so often.
That's a good point. We forget that we have new viewers all the time.
Yeah, I feel like
some of you will never get that disclaimer.
Yeah, there's new viewers every week. I almost want to just put a flashing warning at the start of every video. Connor has chronic hiccups. You'll get the odd one. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
maybe something to look into.
We'll see if we've got the budget for flashing light.
Just need a big sign behind my head.
Yeah, do you know what I want? Actually, I want an alarm that goes off every time you hiccup. It goes, and it's the spinning red light, you know?
Aye, and then it adds a counter.
Hiccup counter. I love it. Dear. So yeah, Laurel's back.
Aye, I suppose she is. Maybe.
Laurel's back. I think she is. I feel like, even if this is a fake out, I feel like we'll still end up with her by the time the plot ends.
I agree. And do you know what? If we hadn't had that line from Felicity, I think I'd be more inclined to think it was a fake out. But her saying that about people, like, you know, people coming back makes it more likely to be the case, because it feels like it's a nice setup if that is true.
Here's an idea. This is a bit out there, right? But we like to theorize. What if it is kind of Black Siren, right?
Right.
And we've already heard that Flashpoint didn't affect other Earths, right?
Yeah.
But she was on Earth 1 throughout all this. She was locked away.
She was, yes.
What if, I don't know, it did something, like it merged her with...
Well, it would only affect her from when she came to this Earth,
right? That's true.
And how much can you... I mean, she already had all her powers. She was already evil by that point. So how much can you change her after that? Speed Force, bro. Good answer.
That would be my answer to that. That would be my... I don't know, it's an out there theory. I'm grasping at straws, so I don't know.
Yeah. I am more inclined to think the Legend stuff with Sarah is going to play into this. But like you said, they mentioned Flashpoint a lot, so who knows?
Yeah, I think the Legend stuff makes a lot of sense. Maybe even if it's something we've not seen yet in Legends.
That's a good point. Time travel shenanigans. And
especially since the last time we seen Damien on Legends, Reverse Flash took him somewhere in time. Like, he actually time travelled with him, so who knows where he went, what they did. They could have altered something.
I just feel like the thematic links are much more obvious to do it through Sarah than through Flashpoint.
It does make more sense, but the thing is, though, is none of this, assuming it is time travel or Flashpoint, none of it answers why they thought she was dead still, and then she appeared here, like this.
Unless they've taken a version of her and then brought her to the future for some reason.
Maybe.
Or Barry just ran to Earth 12 and grabbed Laurel from there.
Yeah, or it's just Laurel from another Earth for reasons.
Hey, whatever they got to do to give her powers.
Let's be honest, all they wanted to do is give us this big cliffhanger so that they could leave us all, bubbling.
They thought of this months ago, and then the writers went to Cookie, so what happened? I goes, I don't know, it's your job.
Well, that's kind of what happened last year. Oh, let's put a gravestone at the start of the season and say someone dies. Who dies? I don't know. We'll decide that later.
Do you know what the thing is? That's not that happens all the time in TV. That's not a bad thing. I mean...
Oh, no. TV is largely, stuff is developed as it goes. That right there, though, actually seeing something that specific and not knowing the answer to it is a problem.
I mean, I don't know. I always think of like the season 5 of Breaking Bad, the very opening where it's forward 1 year, and you see all the guns, and they have no idea who he was going to, anything of that, and it was very specific. So, and that worked out really well.
Okay, but the writers of Breaking Bad are smart
That's
enough.
what I mean. That's
Like,
what I'm saying. You can do this, and
okay,
you
you
do it
can.
well if you're good.
But the thing is, though, with that though, that's not actually even that specific when you think about it. It's just him, like that. He could be going to anyone. He could be going to anywhere. All they have to do is say, "Why does he have guns?" at the end of the season. And we won't talk
Yeah,
about
that's
because
fair.
no
Yeah,
spoilers
yeah.
for Breaking
No,
Bad.
no. Obviously, I didn't
Right.
think that was a spoiler in the
Yeah, it's
slightest.
not, but I'm just in case anyone's worried, we're about to dive into spoilers. But you know what I mean, like. I can clearly see how they can do that, knowing that we can easily slot that in later. Whereas this was them committing, no, someone has to die.
That's true.
We don't know who it is, but someone we're going to have to just pick someone. I'm almost inclined to think they just pick someone out of a hat. Names in the hat. Could be Thea, could be Diggle, could be Quentin. Won't be Felicity. Her name wasn't in the hat.
No, no, that's the thing. Do you know what the problem with that was? It's like, it won't have been Felicity, because Felicity was obviously safe.
Yeah.
Like, there was never any doubt of that. Thea, I get that there's good story still to tell with her character, because obviously she is just an adaptation of Mia, and, there's stuff there, which is probably why Laurel should have been safe as well. Like, she's an adaptation. There's still, 70 years of stories to tell if you want it.
And they've barely done any of her stories yet, so there's plenty to.
The two that should have been one of is either Diggle or Quentin. And I like both of them, don't get me wrong, but Diggle's story was pretty much over for all intents and purposes. We had the stuff with his brother.
Diggle's story has been absolutely horrible for like the last year and a half, 2 years. If I have to hear him once again talk about how he killed his brother, I will flip a table.
Well, that's the thing. I think it probably should have been him. And Quentin, again, they've done new stuff with him this season, don't get me wrong. But for all intents and purposes, at the time, his story was done.
Yeah, because his plot at the end of last season was he's dating Donna.
Yeah, it should have been one of those two, frankly.
It should have been one of those two. They just make the most sense. Everyone else has plot they've got left to tell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Arrow. That is the longest review of Arrow we have ever done.
It's because they actually did something for a while.
They did something, and they gave us that thing at the end where we went on our speculation /
It's exactly what they wanted. We've fallen into their trap.
We have. But you know what? If Arrow can be that good every week, I won't hate watching it. So
Yeah, I don't know if I'd look forward to it.
it would still be my least favourite of the four. But
Yeah, but I think if I had a year of it like that, maybe I would look forward to it. Because I'd be like, it could be alright.
this is all going to get terrible really quickly after Christmas, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I don't know why we're speculating again, I hope so. It's gonna be shite.
Well, it's back at the end of January, folks, so look forward to that. Of course, we'll be back then with more reviews. Obviously, we have Legends coming up this week, which is also its mid-season finale. Supergirl's back a little bit earlier than the other three. That's back in the 16th, whereas everything else seems to be back the week after that. So that's when the show's coming back. So it's only a month. It's actually a little bit better than we thought. We were expecting...
Yeah, CW is usually quite late, because obviously they don't start until October, whereas everything else tends to start mid-September. And
so we were worried it was going to be a longer gap, but we actually, no, they're back a little bit sooner. So obviously we'll have our best shows of the year videos and that kind of thing coming up over Christmas, plus whatever else is on over that time. But look, and obviously we do best movies of the year, best comics of the year, and on our other shows.
yeah, that's a good point. We spoke a lot about how we're DC fans here because Black Canary, and we can prove that. We have a DC podcast.
Yeah, it's called Comics from the Multiverse. Check it out if you want to hear us talk about each week's DC comics, at least most of them. So check those out, and we'll be doing an end of the year special of that as well, where we talk about our favourite books of the year. But all that's coming up over the next couple of weeks. I'm calling it a break because like all the shows on network TV are ending and then coming back like late January. So that to me is the Christmas break. Even though there is a few things still on, and there's still other things we're doing. The movie show's going to do some Christmas movies and so on and whatever. But
This week is pretty much the last week till the holiday.
This is the full slate. This is the last full week of like multiple shows every night. Which is nice because a little overworked. Nice to get a little bit of a quieter time, a little downtime. But yeah, that's us, guys. So thank you very much for sticking with us all through that. If you have, you are a trooper. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Did you share the same compliments, the same complaints? More ideas, thoughts and theories? Is Laurel just Jay from Earth 20? Let us know.
Please.
She's Prometheus. Laurel's Prometheus.
Ah, that crossed my mind already. If it wasn't such a manly voice, I'd have put that out there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. What?
What if she has got the voice powers, sonic powers, and she can change her voice with it?